Welcome from Lima, the capital of Peru, where I began a new series of videos exploring this colorful and captivating country. It isn't my first time here, but it is my first time vlogging here, and I'm excited to see some new places and to share with you some places that are well worth returning to. If you come to Lima, chances are you'll be staying, as I am, in the Miraflores district, an upscale part of the city that's adjacent to the Pacific Coast Bluffs and that has long been a favorite of tourists. This is the coolest part of Lima in more ways than one. Lima is an unusual place climatically in that it's really a desert up against the ocean, and Miraflores is along the thin edge of that shoreline. It's a bit of a gray day here, which is not unusual. The lack of sunshine today is more than made up for by the splendid cool weather, just that fresh, clean breeze off the Pacific, and it detracts none whatsoever from the beauty of Lima's bluff-top coastline. This esplanade is just a beautiful place to pass some time. The less hurried you are, the more you enjoy it. When you come to Lima, there's one place along the ocean front that you do not want to miss. It's a park called Parque del Amor, the Park of Love. And as you may be able to see over my shoulder, it's accentuated with a gigantic statue of a man and woman embracing in a kiss. Thus, the statue is called El Beso, the kiss. In theory, this park celebrates love of all kinds, but as you can imagine, I think romance takes the lead here. This entire place is surrounded by a beautifully colored tiled wall with expressions of love embedded into it, which I guess makes sense in the Park of Love. ¿Cómo estás? As with any great city in Latin America, Lima's main square, its Plaza de Armas, is at the historic center of the city. That hasn't changed since Lima's founding in 1535 by the ruthless Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro. Pizarro's hands are all over the design of this plaza. He chose to put the capital precisely here. In fact, he had the Viceroyalty's palace behind me built, and the Grand Cathedral to my left, the first stone in its construction was laid by Pizarro. Despite the mythical lore associated with the conquistadors, they were a brutish bunch, out for a big share of the wealth to be stolen from others, with the backing of the Spanish crown.
Pizarro died violently in the palace he built, not at the hands of the native people he oppressed, but from a rival among his fellow conquerors. His remains occupy a prominent place in Lima's cathedral.
Well, I've arrived here in front of the palace. It just happens to be the moment of the changing of the guard. But the guards are quite distant. This palace is exceedingly well protected, let's say, and for reasons that are, let's just say, situational. I'll explain more about that in a moment. But look at the distance between the barricades on the street where I'm standing and the iron gates of the palace itself. This is really a very magnificent plaza with the presidential palace on one side and the cathedral to its left. It's also one of the more serene presidential plazas you will find anywhere, and for a particular reason. Peru has a new president. Rural school teacher and farmer Pedro Castillo, who was elected in 2021. He defeated the establishment candidate Keiko Fujimori, the daughter of the disgraced former president who was convicted on a number of corruption charges and fled the country for a while. And yet, people loyal to Fujimori have not really given up. And there are considerable protests that have been ongoing here. And as a police officer explained to me a few minutes ago, that is the reason that the new president has imposed restrictions on this plaza. As you can see, there are barricades all around. There are normal barricades here, but this is extraordinary. There are police at every conceivable entrance to the plaza, and the middle of the plaza, the entire beautiful park-like grounds with the fountain in the middle, is closed off completely. In fact, if you make the mistake of wandering even close to it, a police officer will whistle and politely ask you to move back to the other side. So it's a very strange situation. It's almost like being in the middle of a hurricane, if you will, because the neighborhoods directly around the Plaza Mayor are extremely vibrant, but you could actually lie down on a bench and easily go to sleep. It's so quiet here.
A few blocks away, however, it's a different scene.
Well, as you can see, the police are standing quietly by, observing it all rather calmly. And I would say, as these things go in Peru these days, just another afternoon of political theater. Well, I'm standing outside the church and convent of San Francisco, which, perhaps even more so than the cathedral, is considered a gem of Spanish colonial architecture. But what draws visitors to this place as much as anything are its catacombs, containing the remains of some 30,000 people who died up until the early 1800s. More intriguing still, the catacombs were only rediscovered in 1948. Well, two things. There's a very long line of students waiting to enter the catacombs. The second thing is that the lovely courtyard in front of this church and convent is blocked off for renovation. And I guess there are three things. And that's the music you hear in front of me, just outside the church. It's an impromptu brass band, and they sound good, but it sounds more like a concert here than a church. Someone just shouted, "Viva Mexico." What that could possibly mean, I have no idea. If there's one public space that defines Miraflores, it's here in John F. Kennedy Park, named in honor of the late U.S. President, which is beside and melds into Central Park. It's a great place to relax, to people watch, or to take in one of the many free performances that always seem to be happening here. But there's another reason I love this place, and that's for its famous and much beloved community of cats. Nowhere else have I seen more well-fed, well-taken care of cats living in a park. It's as if the entire community has staked a claim in their welfare, and it shows.
Ahí está este, Morón, Jason, Roy, Antonio.
Well, that's a look at some of what Lima has to offer. There are omissions for sure, including the city's outstanding museums and its world-renowned culinary scene. But my time here is of necessity limited. Tomorrow I set out on a journey arcing south, then east, then north across much of this amazing country, starting in Peru's Great Paracas Desert. So hope to see you there. Until then, ciao and peace.